To some people, MTN is just a platform to buy data and airtime, while to some others, it's a money printing company. You see, these people have made multi-million naira through MTN. So today on Clockwise, we'll be showing you how these people have made so much money from MTN. When they hear MTN everywhere you go in coverage, to them, it's MTN everywhere you go, they make money. Welcome to Clockwise once again. My name is Providence. And as we do it here, I came with my analyst. He's somebody that does not need introduction any longer. Please welcome Mr. Kandem. Welcome to Clockwise.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't think I need to introduce you again. Maybe in the next episode you introduce me.
Thank you for
All right, now you see, MTN first of all was listed in first time was in 2019. That was the 2019. Now, yeah, the share price then was 19 naira. I could recall. Then the initial public listing became 2021
December.
Yeah, December, and it was 169 naira. Like from 2019 to 2021, like 3 years, and the price actually jumped. Now, many years down the line, 5 or 6 years down the line. So let's analyze the success of MTN and how much more they've made millionaires in Nigeria. Now, before we proceed, I'd like us to divide this conversation into two areas. Look at the share capital first, how it has actually risen, and also now look at the dividend part of it. So first, from the initial public listing, which was, let's take 2021, at 169 naira per share, and what it is today, has it been a good investment?
Okay, so like they say, people talk, numbers scream. That's why I came with my device today, because I want to look at the numbers, look at trading view, and do some calculations, so we see what we have here. So MTN, like you rightly said, MTN listed in December of 2020. Initial public offering was in December of 2021 at 169 naira per share. Now today, I'm going to pull up my trading view now. Today, MTN is at it's 819 naira 40 kobo per share.
169.
That's for 169 per share. Now, if I am to pull my calculator, let's do the numbers. So let's look at the percentage return. So we are going to do 819 minus 169 divided by 169 times 100. That's 100 because it's percentage. That gives us a 384.9%.
From 2021.
From 2021 to date. Meaning that that's a 3.85x on your money. That's the return.
Let's be practical about it.
So that means MTN is up to 385% since
from initial public.
Yes, from initial.
Let's be practical about it. Let's assume I invested 100,000 naira in 2021.
Yes.
In that initial public offering.
Yes.
What will I be making by now?
So it's very simple. Let us pull up our calculator. 20. I can actually say it offhand though, but I always like to pull up the calculator so you see it. So we said it has made 3.85x on your money. So times what? 100,000. That's 385,000. That's what the capital gains you would have gotten. Then if you are saying what will I be sitting on now, then you simply just add the 100,000, which will take it to 485,000 naira. That's what we'll be sitting on. But what you have made will be 385,000 naira.
So let's assume I actually invested 1 million. Let's say 10 million.
So if you do 1 million, it's the same token. So 1 million would have given you 3.85 million. So you'll be sitting on 4.85 million.
In how many years?
In just this 2021 to now, it's 5 years.
Without doing anything.
Without doing
nothing.
Without doing anything.
So the capital has actually increased over the years.
Yes.
And that's one part. That's one way you can actually make money through capital gains, increment. Now the other part is through dividends.
Yes.
So because I heard that they're actually going to pay dividends. First was 5 naira, then 15 naira. That making it 20 naira.
Okay, so let me explain something. So there is something we call interim dividends, which is paid have at mid-year. Then you have what we call final dividends, which is paid at the end of the year. So let's look at, I looked at TradingView. MTN has been very consistent when it comes to payment.
Yeah.
In fact, it's been paying every year except 2024, which you know the reason why they stopped paying because of the FX problem and the downdraft that they had because of the losses they recorded. But for example, in 2021, the interim was 4.4 naira 50 kobo. Then you had final was 5 naira 90 kobo. So if you put both together, you talk about something around 10 naira and 45 kobo. That was the first year. That's for 2020, for 2021, first year cycle. Then you had 2022, we had 14 naira 17. If you put both together, the interim and the final, you had 14 naira 17 kobo. Then 2023, it was 15 naira 60 kobo. Okay. Then of course 2024, like we said, dividends were not declared because of the FX challenge. Then of course 2025, there was an interim which was 5 naira, which ended up being what has been paid so far. But for this year, like I told, this year has been a very phenomenal year. We already are at 15 naira interim. So 15 naira interim is what we already have so far. So it's been consistent. If you put everything together, you are looking at, if you put as in all of them together, you're looking at 16 naira per share.
Wow.
So let us do some numbers. And I'm going to pick that 1 million that you talked about. Okay. So let's say, let me pull up my calculator here. So let's say you put in, invested in 1 million naira. Here is what would happen. So 1 million, 1 million divided by the share price as at that time, as at 2021, which was 169 naira. Okay. That will give you 5,917 shares. Now, we know that MTN, for those who held, because I got in at the time, but I know that for those of us who held for 12 months, which is one of the reasons why we say when you're investing, it's a long-term journey. So MTN gave 1 share per 20 shares held. So if you held 100 shares, you get additional 5 shares. So that's like 5%. So if you do 5,917, if you say 0.5%, that's what I'm trying to do now. 0.05 times 5,917, that gives you 295 shares. So you'll be sitting on 295 plus 5,917. So a total of 6,212 shares. Yeah. So if you do that, if you multiply that by the dividend yield, which has been 160 naira per share. So you're looking at, you multiply that by 62112 by 60 times 6212. That will give you 372,720 naira. That is just dividends.
Without doing anything.
Yeah, so you have literally returned 37% of your money just on dividends. Now, if you pull that together, and then if you add the appreciation, which you are now sitting on based purely on capital gains, you are now sitting on 4.85. So if you do that, you're looking at plus 485. Let's just leave for purpose of mathematics. We are looking at literally over 5 million naira, 5.2 million naira.
As dividends?
No, in total.
Total, right, yeah.
And by the way, sorry, this number is not correct. The 4.8 is not correct because the 5% yield also affects this. You know, this 4.8 was based on 5,917. That is the number of shares. Okay. So if what we can do is to add both of them together. Let's just do this. I think what will help us will be this. Sorry, I'm sounding a little bit, but I mean, we do these numbers every day. So we have 5,917 times, let's leave it at that, times 60. That gives us 355 1,000. Then if you add this plus 48500, just for purpose of that, gives you 5205.
Okay.
Then if you do 5%, because the additional dividend given was 5%. If you do that, then that means you are literally sitting on something between, way above 5 million.
All right, now we've seen those calculations. We've seen everything you've done, and we're going to show our viewers. You're going to see what we are doing. We'll record the screen and ensure that you see what we are doing. Now, that's the essence of actually listening to this program. We bring an analyst that actually sleeps on the chart, and I say it every time. He sleeps on the chart. He's always the calculator, calculating these things. And whatever information we give you here, just know that you can take it to the bank, because it came out of a lot of research, probably a lot of research rather. Now, we've talked about the capital gains. We've talked about the dividends. Now, there's one story I want to actually relate before I actually ask the next question. I could remember 2025. You see, these shares was actually coming down. The share price. At the point, it was 500. At the point, it came down to 300. Before we actually see what is happening, it came down to 180, 170. And it was at 170 I bought. I bought more, and when it was coming down, because I actually saw the fundamentals. I saw that the business was actually going well, because we've re-emphasized, because a share price is coming down does not mean that the company is doing badly.
Yes.
It's just fundamental. So when I saw the fundamentals, I bought more, around 170. And today I'm very happy that it's actually 800 something. So what will you actually say about people adopting the long-term trading or like long-term investment strategy as a strategy in the market?
So here is the deal. The market is I've said this over and over again, is a voting machine in the short term and a weighing machine in the long term. What does that mean? Hype can push prices short term.
Okay.
But when it comes to long-term price appreciation, long-term capital appreciation, it can only be done by fundamentals. The rule of the thumb is, if you buy a company and you understand the fundamentals of the company, and you understand that the fundamentals have not changed, then there is no need for you to panic sell. The reality is that you should know that two things drive the market: fear and greed. So, and these things happen because nobody wants to lose money in the market. Let me give you an example, which I gave you. 30th of March, the S&P 500 dropped as low as $6,312 per share, 12 points. Now it is back above, just in less than 2 weeks, is back above and has created a new all-time high of 7,145 points. So the thing is, imagine if you had sold because you saw the S&P 500 drop from 7,030 points down to 6,312. The thing is, what has changed? Nothing. So MTN, when that happened, I know a lot of people that were
people sold.
People told me, this investment is a very bad investment. What has changed? Two things that have happened very significantly if you look at the period under review. Number one, ChatGPT came out in 2022. Now, that actually ramped up the demand for data as people want to assess AI. Who sits in the nexus of that? It's MTN, because they provide data. Especially in Nigeria. MTN makes more money from data subscription than from voice calls. Yeah. By the way, I scarcely make voice calls nowadays. You called me this morning. You called me on WhatsApp. I mean, most people now call on WhatsApp. So the only thing that you use is data, not on voice. Sometimes I subscribe. I could load maybe 1,000 or 2,000 naira, and I would use it for weeks. Because I'm basically chatting on WhatsApp. I'm calling on WhatsApp, which needs data. So MTN sits at that. So that's a very strong fundamental. Social media is now everywhere. TikTok for the younger generation, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it. All of those require data.
People say that even if you don't have food, have data.
I know a lot of people that can afford to starve. but they cannot afford to. You know, when they say this urgent 2K, urgent 2K before now was for Indomie and egg. Now urgent 2K is for data.
It's subscribe for.
In fact, if someone tells, they no longer say, "Oh, you give me urgent," they will say, "Sub for me."
Sub for.
Okay,
share your sub.
So who do you think benefits from the sub for me generation? So that is the fundamental.
People that are benefiting from the sub for me, they know themselves.
Yeah. So it's a very strong fundamental for MTN, and that's why you say it's not even only MTN, even Airtel Africa. It's been making insane amount of
so
profit.
what it means is that the profit will continue. Are we going to see a point where this share price will get to 1,500?
It might go beyond.
You mean that people will make? There will be so many multi-millionaires.
It might go beyond because that's less than a 2x from here. That's less than a 2x from here.
Yes,
so it might go beyond that.
8,500.
And then I think at a point we'll now maybe you could do what we call share split. So you could do, what that means is that, let's say, for example, if a company gets to like 1,000, they could say 10 for 1. 1 for 10. That is, if you have 1,000 units of shares or 1,000 shares, it's now broken down. You now have 10 shares of 100 naira each.
Okay.
So that could happen. But my point is, it is very, because the fundamentals are strong. I think I had told you the last podcast, some of the gains that we have already recorded. The first time we called MTN, it was not here, and
yes, it was not here.
It was not here. The first time we called,
yes.
Our peak, MTN was part of our peak for the year, for 2026.
It was not here,
and it has done well so far.
It was around 500 and something.
Yes,
at that point. Yes.
So it has done well so far, and we expect it to continue to move because these things are coming in. A lot of people are connecting. The number of Nigerians, internet access, internet penetration in Nigeria is becoming very pervasive. That's why telecom companies are now like gold mines. Already, interim dividend is already 15 naira. Let me pull up something so you see. It's already 15. We already done 15 naira for as interim dividend. As a point of reference, in 2025, we had just interim dividend was 5 naira. In 2023, it was 5 naira. In 2022, it was 5 naira 60 kobo. In 2021, it was 4 naira 55. So that tells you that, and we are in 2026, we're already at 15 naira as interim dividend. So you can imagine what the final dividend will be and the total dividend.
So can somebody still buy or should wait for a pullback? Are we expecting a pullback anytime soon?
Okay, so let me pull up the chart, the MTN chart. At this point, we have, as usual, I'm expecting a correction around 755 naira per share. 759 naira per share. That's the first correction I'm looking at. The reality is that.
So should we wait to that point, or they can still buy now?
So no, I've never told anybody to. There's something called dollar cost averaging. MTN is literally around its all-time high. A decent pullback is expected. So I'm looking. The price target will be 755 naira per share. Yeah, and then you can look at taking a position there. A deeper correction would take it to fill an imbalance all the way through to 704 or 705 naira per share. Of course, we still have 641, but those are way deeper corrections.
It will take a very strong.
It would take some kind of black swan event to get to that level. So that's why you don't want to wait until you can miss out on opportunities. So what we advise is you dollar cost average. So you have a particular amount to invest. If it pulls down to that 755, you can deploy some amount, and then you can also deploy some amount. If it pulls back to 708, you deploy even more. But another strategy that our listeners could look at would be dollar cost average or average monthly investment. So you could say there's a lady, a mentee of mine. I told her, listen, so you don't have to just take emotions out of it. Every month end, ensure that you allocate something to to investment. It allows you to have a smooth entry. So you are not, it averages out. So you don't have to maybe buy at a high point and then sit to watch your portfolio dip. So if you do on a monthly basis, you buy at 800 and something, you buy at 700, you buy at 600 and something, you buy at 500 and something. If you look at the average will now be maybe around 600 or 600 and something. So that is one of the things you could do if you're new, especially if you're a beginner, just so you remove the emotions out of it. But again, we also, as professional investors, we also have what we call dry powder for serious deployment, meaning that, let us say, like what you said just now, the MTN share price coming down from that 300 to 100 and something. Yeah, you would look at, and that for me is a generational buy opportunity. Of course, by benefit of hindsight, to see is a generational buying opportunity. You can deploy way more. That is where you have what we call margin debt. So where some professional investors will look at maybe taking a margin debt to buy some of these assets. But remember, if you are going that route, you have to be a professional. You have to be sure that you are getting very excellent terms.
You're actually following this channel.
So what that means is, let's say you have 1 million naira. I don't advise you to take a margin debt of above 200,000 for stocks. What that means is that you can only get your margin call maybe if the stock price gets down to 300 naira.
Okay.
That means a 70% correction.
Which is not likely.
It's except a black swan event.
It's not possible.
But it's not likely. But so you want to do that. You want to leave it at 20.
We'll be making calls. So we actually be online buying data. So we can't get to that point.
What maybe to actually go down the last time? FX liquidity challenges, issues, losses related to FX.
Yeah.
So in the market, you can never say never. That's why I'm saying your margin debt should be very low. And this is for professionals. I'm not talking about newbie. As a newbie, buy with the money you can afford to lose. But for professionals, what we do is we can, if you have a 1 million, especially during the bear market, this works very well during the bear market. You can buy, and this is why I'm saying some people say, you should do it during the bull market. Money is not made during the bull market, of course.
Yeah.
Money is made during the bear market. And bear market means that the downside risk is lower than the upside returns. There is an extent to which, let's say MTN draws down to 200, then you know that it's nearing its bottom. So when you buy at that point, and then let's say you're doing 20% margin debt, then that means that you need another 800 or another at least 70% correction for you to be able to receive a margin call. So what you want to do is, you want to do this during the bear market. You can buy and take advantage of the market dislocation, and then of course when the bull market returns, you will be sitting on something.
I think you've done a very perfect analysis of what MTN is, and you've given us a better projection. Although you're not giving us investment advice,
of course I don't.
Yes,
on this
you've given
channel,
us a better projection. I think we'll actually keep watching it, see the movements, observe the fundamentals, and see what is going on. Like I said, we see a situation where MTN can get 1,500 naira per shares. If you get to that point, people who bought like you, who bought like at 169, will be multi-millionaires. Serious multi-millionaires. Serious multi-millionaires. So before we go, give us your final words.
Like I said, even though we are talking about MTN, you want to be diversified. Even in the telecoms, you cannot just go into MTN. We have Airtel Africa. It's one of our picks actually for this year. So you want to go into MTN, you also diversify to Airtel. But of course, you can't even get stuck into on telecoms alone. You want to diversify. Diversification is the best thing since sliced bread. So please try to diversify your stock portfolio and ensure that you have some dry powder, a runway for at least 6 months. 6 months of living expenses. Don't put everything into the stock market so that you don't have to sell at fire sale prices at a low price, or sell low and buy high.
All right, thank you very much, and you've done justice to the conversation. Now, on that note, we'll come to the end of today's episode of Clockwise. Now, we're talking about MTN. We've not given you investment advice. Do your due diligence, follow the fundamentals, also follow what we are telling you. Dollar cost every investment, do dollar cost average in every investment, and just be consistent in it. Once you can observe the fundamentals, know that the business is doing very fine, and you will be also doing very fine as a shareholder. Now, the next time we'll be here, we'll be talking about something very, very important, something I really want people to listen to. I'll not let the cat out of the bag at this point. But please do not forget to like, subscribe, and not to put a notification bell on this channel, because every week we bring amazing content. And also do not forget that the elite of the 21st century are not those who do not go to school or those who will not go to school, but are those who have refused to evolve as the environment is evolving. My name is Providence. I'll see you again.